please.
Thank you to those that are coming in. We'll start in 1 minute to allow more registrants to come into the webinar.
Okay.
Is Rufaro on? Okay.
Thank you to those who are already in this webinar. We're just waiting a couple of moments for more people to come in. They're streaming in. We'll get started with introductions, and that'll allow us some time as more people come into this webinar. Thank you all for joining us. So welcome, hello and welcome. I am Hafiza Rashid, the Senior Advisor, Communications and Outreach at the King Baudouin Foundation, United States. It's great to be here, and thanks for taking the time today to attend our 4th webinar in the African Resource Mobilization webinar series. There are some familiar names in the attendee list, but for those who are not familiar with KBFUS, please allow me a moment to share some brief words. The King Baudouin Foundation United States facilitates thoughtful, effective giving to Europe and Africa. We enable US donors to support their favorite causes overseas. We also provide European and African nonprofits with cost-effective solutions to raise funds in the United States through a tool we call an American Friends Fund. We have over 450 American Friends Funds, including the University of Nairobi, the Harare International Festival of Arts, Techme, and the Magna Yakub Heart Foundation, among many others. These funds save African nonprofits the trouble and expense of setting up their own US public charity. KBFUS handles all back office administration, including tax receipts and donor support. So if you have donors in the United States, feel free to reach out to me and we'll be happy to assist. And by the way, if you have donors in Canada, in Europe, or in Asia, feel free to reach out as well, as we have partners that can help you with donors in these countries and regions. My contact email will be made available following the webinar. There are a few additional points I'd like to share. All participants who have entered this webinar are in listen-only mode. This session is being recorded, and our moderator, Liz Ngonzi, will address questions at specific points of the discussion, but I encourage use of the Q&A feature to submit your questions throughout. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hafiza. I have enjoyed collaborating with you and the rest of the KBFUS team tremendously to develop this series over so many years, so many months, right? It feels like that. I can't believe we're already at the 4th one. Thank you so much for the opportunity to do so. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to learn with us. For you, those of you joining us again, which I know are many of you, we're very happy to have you with us. And those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. Please feel free to share your questions in the Q&A. For those who don't know me and haven't met yet, I am the founder and CEO of the International Social Impact Institute, which I founded last year, recognizing that the unprecedented challenges currently facing the social impact sector highlighted the need for focused, creative, and well-networked change makers and social impact-driven leaders to help guide the sector forward. Through initiatives with the King Baudouin Foundation, United States, the Nelson Mandela University in South Africa, the Arcus Foundation in the US, as well as Hunter College and the City University of New York, the Institute aims to amplify the voices of social impact leaders from historically marginalized communities in the US and around the world, facilitate interactions among them, and assist in the training of more of them. The African Resource Mobilization webinar series is very special to me because it enables us to bring together many stakeholders, including all of you incredible people who are joining us, and of course, our incredible partners. Civicus Global Alliance is one of them, as well as Candid, Equity Group Holdings, the Isra Family Foundation, the Kenya Association of Fundraising Professionals, the Nigeria Network of NGOs, and the Tri-State Area Africa Funders Network. I encourage you to learn about all of them as they support the social impact sector in many of the countries in which your organizations operate, offering research, educational content, networking opportunities, and of course, funding. At New York University, where I teach digital storytelling, innovation, and fundraising, and of course, it's quite popular, I emphasize the importance of having key ingredients of what I call your digital storytelling ecosystem, such as LinkedIn, your website, your other social media platforms, making sure that they reflect your story consistently and in a manner that attracts support. Ideally, your story should include the problems that your organization solves, the solutions that it applies to address those problems, and your organization's impact on the populations that it serves. The story should also indicate the impact that can be delivered by funders through their support of your organization, whether those funders are US foundations, as we covered in the first webinar in the series, US corporates, which were discussed in the second webinar, or African or African diaspora-based funders, as we discussed in the third. Finally, your story should always include a call to action. In today's session, Boost Your Impact, Leverage Honors and Recognitions to Encourage Your Fundraising, we will cover another element of an organization or leader's story. Honors, awards, and recognitions provide evidence of the value that the leader or organization brings to the table, that they're really, credible. And they demonstrate that this value has been recognized and acknowledged by other credible organizations, and they represent affiliations that contribute greatly to your brand, your network, and in some instances, your financial resources. I am proud to welcome our three distinguished panelists, whom our partner, Civicus Global Alliance, helped us to secure. Let's begin with Rebecca Musiitwa, Manager of International Programming Africa at the Obama Foundation, who is also of Ugandan descent. Hello, Ugandans. Following her will be Jerry Odili, founder of Techme, based in Nigeria, and he's a fellow social entrepreneur who also shares my passion for technology. He will be followed by Rufaro Mudimu, who is Chief Executive Officer of Enke Make Your Mark, which works with young people who are creating change in their communities. One of my very favorite sort of causes, because it really represents the future. I will now have each one of them introduce themselves. Rebecca, can you please go first?
Of course. Hafisa and Liz, I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity to join this panel discussion today. And to everyone on the line, welcome. It's so good to have you here. As mentioned, my name is Rebecca Musiitwa. I am the Manager for International Programming in Africa at the Obama Foundation. I specifically manage the Leaders Africa program. Leaders Africa is a unique program at the foundation that was launched in 2018 with the goal of bringing change makers across Africa together. We are a non-residential leadership development and civic engagement program designed to inspire, empower, and connect the future wave of and the future generations of African leadership. So essentially through values-based leadership training, skills-based training, and also policy discussions, our goal is to create an interconnected Pan-African community of changemakers who will really drive and scale change across the continent. So to date, we have graduated 2 cohorts. Both of those cohorts had 200 leaders each. And now we are working on organizing our 3rd cohort that will launch in 2021. In total, we have about 400 leaders in our alumni network who come from 46 African nations. And just a little bit of background on myself. I know we'll talk a lot about the program today, but prior to coming to the foundation, I built a career in international development and international education. And I have a strong passion and focus on capacity development, advocacy, and empowering communities across the globe with opportunities. So that's me. Lisa, I'll pass it back to you, Liz.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Really glad to have you with us. And now we will pass it on to Jerry. Hi, Jerry.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Liz. So my name is Jerry Odili. I'm the founder of Techme. Techme is a nonprofit organization in Nigeria, leveraging technology to solve social issues. Our core focus areas are in education, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement. We focus on young people, teenage girls, and women. We give training to teenage girls, underserved teenage girls on STEM and coding, trying to bridge the technology gender gap in Nigeria. We also give digital skills training to young people, connect them to funding sources so they can start a business. We connect them to a pool of companies where they can get internship and full employment opportunities. Recently, we started the Engage Golf program. Is a place where we're trying to get young people to be more civic aligned, where they can interact with their elected representatives. I don't know if you ever heard about the NSAS protest in Nigeria. We decided it was imperative for more young people to become involved in civic activities. I'm also part of the Obama Leaders Program. That's how I know Rebecca. So yeah, thank you. That's a bit about me.
Awesome. I was waiting for you to say that.
I saved that for last.
And I think you've worked with about 3,000 young people this so far. Is that correct? Or am I wrong with the number? It's about 3,000, right?
Yeah, right now we've gone past that.
Okay. All right. That's impressive. Thank you so much. And coming to us from South Africa is Rufaro. Hello, Rufaro.
Hi, Liz. And hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be part of this. Thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Rufaro Mudimu. I lead an organization called Enke, Make Your Mark, or also known as Enke, which is a youth leadership development organization that exists to ensure that young people are able to thrive. So we're based in South Africa. And the work that we do is through leadership and entrepreneurial skills programs around South Africa that help young people to realize their value, thrive, and mobilize for meaningful change for themselves as well as in their communities. So as Enke, we've had an impact on over 5,000. We've trained about 5,000 young people through our program since 2009. And their projects and impact and social projects as well as entrepreneurial projects have had an impact on over 100,000 people in South Africa. And we're really excited to scale. So we're looking at how do we share the kind of mindset, facilitation, and training that we do to others and to spread kind of the work around building a leadership mindset within and across South Africa. So I'm very passionate about youth development in Africa. I'm a young person who was privileged to be able to access different opportunities, etc. And part of kind of my calling, I suppose, is to pay that back and pay it forward. So I do a lot of work and my focus is around how do I contribute to improving our leadership trajectory and the ways that we have perspectives on leadership in Africa and across the continent, and seeing how I can learn and share knowledge. And through that, I've been able to be part of some amazing programs. So I'm Obama Foundation Leaders Africa as part of the first cohort in 2018. And I'm also a One Young World ambassador. Awesome. And I managed to also, through those connections, also managed to be part of the steering committee for the Goalkeepers Youth Action Accelerator, which was run by Civicus. And it was the Civicus Global Alliance that connected me to Liz and has enabled me to be here. So I just feel like everything kind of connects together.
That's that's how the world is. Everything's interconnected. I think if people understood that, then they would be kinder to each other.
Yes.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. There are a lot of questions that are going to come from the audience, and they're being sent to me, but I also have some pre-prepared sort of questions. But I want to ensure everyone, we will cover as much as we can, whether it's the folks responding to you in the chat or during this 1 hour. And then we also have additional time that the speakers will stay over to answer any of those questions we haven't been able to respond to during the main session, and we'll send the recording to everybody, so you'll be all covered. All right, so let's just go ahead and jump into it. So Rebecca, we're going to start with you. And so here's the question. What are the various types of recognitions that one can receive from an organization such as the Obama Foundation? And what are some of the other African organizations or leaders can access? How do they vary in terms of the benefits they provide to recipients for example, monetary award, visibility, networking opportunities, and the like? So we'll let you take that first, and then Jerry and or Rufaro can jump in later after.
Sure, yes, I'm happy to take that. I can definitely speak from the angle of the Obama Foundation and from fellowships specifically. So as I mentioned, the Obama Foundation supports the Leaders Africa program. And this program is for change makers across all different sectors and all different issue areas who are really dedicated to working within their community and bringing about change. Whatever that change may be, we're looking to support you. That's what the Leaders Program essentially does. And we do that through skills building and through values-based training and education. The Obama Foundation also supports a Fellows Program, which is a much more intensive program than the Leaders Africa program. It's a 2-year non-residential program, which a much smaller cohort size. The intent for this cohort is for about 20 individuals to really work together over 2 years, have coaches that they partner with, focus on civic innovation, and really scaling their work. So these leaders are at a point in their leadership journey where they're ready to kind of scale and go much bigger with their impact. Also at the Obama Foundation, we support the Scholars Program. The Scholars Program is a 1-year academic program. So you would essentially come to the US. With this program, you would do an academic master's degree at either Columbia or the University of Chicago. And the Obama Foundation would provide training and resources as well during that 1-year program. So essentially, under the Obama Foundation umbrella, there's several different programs and fellowships that you can be a part of. And the benefits really range. I think each program is unique in what they're trying to give their audience and their cohorts. But more than anything, what the Obama Foundation can do is help with visibility, really branding and growing your issue, giving you that platform to share what it is that you're working on and what you're passionate about. In terms of training, we're very passionate about training and making sure that you have the skills that you need, and introducing you to a community of change makers who are like-minded and want to change the world just like you do. So there's a whole community of support, whether it be from Obama Foundation staff or your fellow leaders who can give that to you. To answer the question, Liz, too, about other programs across the continent in terms of fellowships, there's so many. But I would say, some other big ones are like the Tutu Fellowship, YALI, WEF, Global Shapers. All of them have a very similar mission to the Obama Foundation of really pushing forward change makers and giving you the resources that you need to scale your work. And one thing I would add, if I have enough time as well, is really understanding why you're applying to these programs. That's going to help you really determine what you get out of the experience. Why do you want to be a part of this network? Why do you want to be a part of this community? Is it for the visibility? Is it for the training? Is it for the support? If you know that before you apply to the program, it can help you tailor kind of your approach on what kind of programs are perfect for you. And then when you go into it, you know exactly what you want to get out of it. And that's going to maximize the experience and the benefits for you. So there's just a little insight, at least on the Obama side, and then my personal advice on how to look at fellowships in its entirety and what other fellowships are out there for Africans.
Right. And I think, thank you for sharing that. I think it's great. And great news, folks. We have compiled a document for you, great resources from the speakers, as well as from our partners about different sort of opportunities to which you can apply, whether they're awards, prizes, or fellowships. So they should be sharing that link for you in the chat. So that's really, really helpful. Please go through it. It's quite comprehensive. It's a great list. And these are really wonderful opportunities for you to consider. Let us go ahead and go to Rufaro. You want to just jump in? And we also, sorry, I was told we'll also include a link to it in the follow-up email to today's session. Go ahead, Rufaro.
Sure. I mean, I think there's so many different types of opportunities. Some are really country specific, and then there's others that are not, that are just like continent-wide or global. And I think the main thing, so when I first started thinking about applying, I was just like, oh, this is not necessary. It's going to be a lot more work. And I ended up just saying, actually, the reason why I was applying was because of that question on funding proposals around credibility of, the organization's leaders, and what have you done? What networks do you have? And that was narrowing. So I actually made a very deliberate choice to take a look at what are different types of things that people in my network are part of, and asking them information about it. So there's fellowships, there's leadership programs, there's skills programs, and then entering those kind of gives you the leg up on the next thing, because you're growing your network of knowledge as well as your social capital. And when you grow your social capital, you get exposed to so many different other options. And that was a really big thing for me. So one of the first things that I applied for, I think it was 2015, 16, was the One Young World Summit. And so I applied really randomly. I was like, I'm just going to do it. What was really important was learning how to tell my story, because it actually asked me questions that I never even considered about myself, and to talk about myself and brag about myself a little bit, which I'm very uncomfortable with. And so that was kind of the entry point. And then, I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to attend the summit from One Young World, and I'm an ambassador there. Through that, I got the information about the Obama Foundation Leaders Africa program. And I was like, oh no, I'm not big enough for that. I can't do it. And then a friend of mine, who's a former donor, I sent her a thank you email. I was like, hey, here's an update of where we're at. Just thank you so much for the support you gave early on. And then she's like, let's go for coffee. And it turned out she was just like, you know what? I want to recommend you for this Obama Foundation Africa Leaders Program. And I was like, okay, so if she's seeing something, then there's something that I need to respond to. So I applied, even though I really felt that I didn't even meet all of the requirements. So I've come to say if I meet at least 60%, I'm going to apply. Because you can only get 100% you can only get some of what you ask for. So that's a really key thing for me, is just apply, put your name out there. And the key thing is learning about how to speak about yourself in the context of your organization. And then your story starts to develop from there.
Yeah, I know. I think that's a great point that you just, everything you said was great, but I love the fact that you said, if you have 60%, go ahead, go for it. Because unfortunately, and this happens particularly with women, but I would say with people of color, for, people from certain cultures, we feel like we have to have everything ticked off before we apply, but you don't need to do that, right? The point is just to, get in and keep trying, because these opportunities are really, they really are transformative for your organizations, and they're transformative for you as a leader and as a person. So it's absolutely important for you to go ahead and make the effort. So looking forward to hearing about people doing so. Jerry, let's hear from you.
All right, to add to what Rebecca said, knowing why you want to apply for certain fellowships or award, I think it's also important to figure out if you are a fit to what they are looking for, because different fellowships, awards, prizes, they have criteria, eligibility they look for. It might be based on geographical location or a focus area. You might be working on climate, but they're looking for people in entrepreneurship. I think you have to be aware of what you're applying for to make sure you're a fit, so you don't just waste your time applying for a fellowship that does not fit what you're into. And a very good thing about fellowships is they help to build leadership, help you to scale your organizations. And one of the greatest things I've gotten out of fellowships is the network, the people I meet associated with out of fellowships. The very first fellowships I was involved in is Sci-Fi, the Parenting Youth Fellowship Initiative in Nigeria, run by the US Consulate. Through that program, I met people who I'm still involved with right now and are very important to my organization. Usually when I need something, there's always somebody I can reach out to who has maybe the contact to a lawyer or a legal representative, whatever that can help me with my organization. I can overemphasize the importance of having a good network around, and that's what the fellowship gives you. With awards and prizes, you could be able to get award money and funds to scale your organization. Usually, this comes with funds money that usually is unrestricted that can help you to scale your organization. Fellowship usually focuses on the leadership training, helping you to build yourself, and with the Obama Foundation, something I picked out from them was the storytelling, helping you to tell the story of your organization. If you don't tell your story, nobody knows what you're doing. Like you, Liz, you reminded me I've done 3,000 people. I forgot to mention that. So you have to tell your story. You have to tell your story. Nobody tells the story for you. You could be changing the world in your corner, but nobody knows if you don't tell them. So fellowships, they give you these trainings and little nuggets that you can use to build yourself and build the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a good thing I did the research to find that out for you, for folks. So storytelling is important, and that's how I sort of anchored this conversation today. And I think people need to understand that, when you're telling your story, when you're quote unquote bragging about what you do and your organization does, it's not about you being sort of a braggart or anything like that. It's really about helping to connect people with the impact that you're making so that they can potentially even come and support the work you're doing, right? That's because it's not like you're trying to brag just because you want to feel good about yourself. It's that by people knowing that you're credible, by people knowing that your organization's credible, then they can step in and start supporting you to scale the impact that you want to make. So that's really how we have to reframe and think about this. And this is what I teach as well. So let's jump into the next question. I know folks are asking questions, but I feel like we've been covering them. So let's keep going with the next one. So recognizing that the awarding organizations vary, what are some of the ways that leaders can make themselves attractive to such organizations? How can leaders get on organizations' radar? And what are the key things to consider when applying? So we covered a little bit of what to consider, but so what do you think, other than, like you said, the criteria that fit, what is it that you think that they need to know? Like if maybe it's in your LinkedIn profile, or it's in your organization's website, or it's in how you craft the story. Like what are the things that show, yeah, we're credible, we're an organization that has really done the right thing? And maybe I'll start with Rebecca. Maybe it's, what are you looking for when you're evaluating organizations? And then Rufaro and Jerry can jump in on the other side, perspective.
Yeah, Liz, I think that's a great question. And I'll actually piggyback right off what Rufaro said: storytelling. When I'm looking at applicants, who are you? I want to know who you are as an individual. I want to know what you believe in. I want to know what you've been able to accomplish thus far, so that when I'm thinking, what can the foundation give you, that we can grow together. We can grow together as a community. So that's probably the biggest thing that I'm looking for. People who have authenticity, people who are able to really capture what their mission is and what they believe in, and they can capture that through essays in our application. So I will say, on the Obama Foundation side, when we're looking for change makers to join the Leaders Africa Network, we're looking for people who have actually established that impact already, and there could be a mutual beneficial relationship between the both of us. We also want to make sure that we're being equitable in our approach and who comes into the network. So more than anything, the application on the Obama Foundation side is the best way to try and join our network. Pay really close attention to application deadlines. Open the application early, know what you're looking at, know what we're looking for from you, be prepared to answer the questions, spend a lot of time with the essays, come across as yourself. As much as you want to show who your organization is, let us learn a little bit about you. We also have an interview portion for our application process. And when you come to that interview, answer authentically. As much as you want to be prepared, let us know who you are. That's really what we're looking for when we're building our community. I think externally as well, when you're looking at your LinkedIn or your website or even your social media channels, like let us, if we Google you, if we go to look for kind of who you are outside of the world, outside of this application, I want to be able to find that your website is telling us the same exact things that you're saying in the interview. I want to see that your social media is also talking about the issues that you're passionate about. I want to learn who you are a little bit as an individual and see that you really are dedicated to this issue that you're bringing to the table when you come to talk to us. So I think more than anything, storytelling is the big angle for the Obama Foundation. Other fellowships may ask for different things. So I think you can always ask questions before an application is open. Never be afraid to, if there's just like a connect with us email, send an email. If you have a question, ask it. It will get back to you if we can. And then use people in your network who may have those relationships already, and they can give you insight into what these communities look like and what they're really looking to build and for.
Right. And something that's to me seems a little bit obvious that I would think about is you list the fellows, who they are, right? So I would actually reach out to them. I mean, if there's someone who seems interesting, you can always send them a LinkedIn message, or if there's an email, and find out a little bit about them, because they can tell you, right? They've gone through the process, they understand what it is. So it's like, use the information that's available to you. Does that make sense to you, Rebecca?
Complete sense. I think that all of our leaders in our network, we're always encouraging them to be ambassadors for the experience they had. So they're more than welcoming and happy sometimes to just talk about their experience. And people want to make connections. People who come into these communities, they want to connect with people who are outside of their own network potentially. So don't be afraid to reach out.
I agree. And another point that all of you have made that I want to underscore here is the fact that this is a mutually beneficial relationship, right? So you can't think, oh, what can I get out of this? And then not realize that you also need to be providing something back to the network and even to the organization that's providing the opportunity. So it's got to be really a win-win situation. Who wants to go next? Jerry, you want to jump in, or Rufaro?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, so I feel you have to be true to yourself when applying for these honors. You need to know who you are and not try to embellish your truths. It's best to stay true to you than rather embellish and not be consistent with your story. Also, what I try to do usually when I make these applications, I try to go to the past fellows, see the kind of people they've already accepted, and try to see how I align with what they are and what they do. Those are very important things. Being true to yourself, the storytelling, like you mentioned, that is also very important. Like Rebecca mentioned, being able to Google a person and knowing that there's a presence about them. They are not just existent only on the application page. You can actually Google them, check their social media pages, their website, and see the work they've done, rather than only on the application page. They say they've reached out to thousands of people, and there's no backup story behind that. So yeah, I think that's it.
I agree 100%. Yeah, your digital storytelling has got to really be pretty great, especially now where people are not necessarily meeting you in person, or if you're applying for something in a different country, you really do need to create a presence that people can verify and know that, you know, everything you say can be backed up and it's truthful. Rufaro, you do want to jump in before I've got a bunch of questions coming in from the audience that I want to share with you?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the key things really is I'm a big believer in proof, in impact you can prove, and work that you can prove. And so it's really difficult to go out there and say, hey, I'm this person and this is the work that we've done. And there's actually not that. But what's also interesting is that there's often some fellowships or some work or some opportunities that are available for people who just have great ideas.
Right.
And you're looking to build on those ideas. So I think alignment with the application process. So looking at what are they looking for? What are the eligibility criteria? And then when you're looking at applying, so what I did for especially the Obama Foundation one is I drafted my application. I made sure to answer every single question within the word limit. Like those are like just weird little things that you end up, but actually use the word limit. So it says 250, don't write 100 words, like actually use the entire amount that's there. And then I had somebody read it. So I actually had someone read through and give me feedback on what they thought, like, am I being clear? Does this sound really weird? And they're like, actually, you're not saying, you know, you've done this, you're not saying you've done that. And so I think it's really helpful to do it, but you can only do it if you are looking at and applying way ahead of time, right?
Yes.
So if it's right up the deadline, you're not going to be able to do it unless you have refined. So I've also kind of, when I see an opportunity and I have a bunch of applications, I get a lot of no's. So I've become very comfortable with getting the no and just being like focused on learning from the process of the questions that were asked. And that's really important. And so then I'm like, oh, wait, I think I answered this really well in that application. Let me see, is it aligned? And then refining from there. So those are some of the things or tips that I would give in terms of applications. And then making sure that you're on time, contacting, if you, like what Rebecca was saying, like if you have questions, send an email and ask a question. Look at who's in your network, who might even have worked for that organization, you never know. And then you can be like, wait, I see that you worked at this foundation, they have this opportunity. Can you give me some background as to what are they actually looking for? Because I was scaring myself. So I would look at like the fellows or like with Leaders Africa, I mean, like you just get like the top line, the headline of the best, right? And so for me, I was just like, I'm not that. And then
yet you are.
And then you're just like, actually I am. I'm just gonna apply anyway and let me refine my story. And I highly recommend any webinars or tutorials about telling the story of you as an individual and not only your organization. I used to only just do my organization, but the you is the thing that people are investing in fellowships, etc., is you, the individual, in order to build your organization. And I think that's really important to be able to distinguish and be able to speak to both.
Awesome. That's really, really great. So folks are writing a lot of questions. So let me go ahead and share some of them. So from Brenda Kithara at Kilele Health in Kenya, she says, besides fellowships, awards, and leadership programs, where would you place mentorship as a platform for networking, building social capital? Any one of you can answer this.
I'm happy to answer.
Sure, go ahead.
I've never been in a formal mentorship program or kind of relationship, but when on reflection, I do have mentors, and those are people who will actually be able to point out to me, you know, actually, this is where you're going, this is your trajectory, and give you honest feedback. So I think mentorship is really important and also builds your social capital and your ability to communicate who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And that helps to refine it. So mentorship programs are an avenue to build yourself and your organization. But what I think is important is having the recognition that comes with some of these kinds of awards, because then that's what builds credibility as well. So that's my opinion on that. But I do think that getting a mentor is really important, just to sense check who you are and where you're at, and the why is strong.
And there's a difference between a mentor and a sponsor. I just want to be clear about that. So a mentor will provide what Rufaro spoke about, but then a sponsor is someone who will go to bat for you. That's someone who will open the door for you to their network. They will write on your behalf. They'll nominate you for different things. So be clear that there's a difference between the two, and both of them have, are definitely credible. Rebecca, it looks like you want to answer this one, and then I've got a question for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly piggyback on what Rufaro was saying. Mentorship, I think, is critical and so beneficial. And I think a lot of us sometimes don't know how to establish a mentor relationship. But if you have somebody, once again, just using your network and asking the questions and saying very bluntly, like, I need a mentor, I need help on this specific thing. Can you spend this time with me? Or do you know someone else in your network who could possibly do that for me? I think that is a big piece of fellowship programs, because we also believe in the value of mentorship. And as Rufaro was saying, I think the one piece about fellowship programs that make mentorship enhanced a bit is the credibility piece. If you're looking for funders, if you're looking to really scale your organization, tying yourself to a big name like the Obama Foundation, or tying yourself to YALI or any other big fellowship program, you can come out of it and say, hey, this is who I'm associated with. And oftentimes funders will come to you that weren't talking to you before. And I've seen that happen with a lot of leaders in the program who tried for years to get a meeting with somebody. And as soon as it was announced that they were part of the program, those people then came to the leaders and said, yes, let's talk, let's have this conversation. So it gives you a bit of leverage that traditional just mentorship may not necessarily give you, but I cannot understate how important mentorship is. And I agree with everything that Rufaro said.
Awesome. So we have a question for you, Rebecca, and this is from Maurice Amondi, who is the chairman of Kenya Association of Fundraising Professionals, one of our partners. He says, how do you ensure that fellows have started a gainful project, for instance, either got a job or started a project and employ other young people? I guess it's how do you verify the credibility of an organization, I think is what he's saying.
Like,
that applies, I guess, for fellowship.
Okay, yeah, of course. So I think a couple of things that we do when we get an application, we'll often ask for references, and we will follow up on references. We'll do our own deep dives also as well on like the different links that were shared with us, the organizations that were shared with us, and we'll use our network. You know, if an organization is based in Nairobi and Kenya, we have other leaders who are in that area, and we'll say, do you know this organization? We'll reach out to our contacts to see if they can kind of vouch for an organization or an individual. So we'll use our resources, and through kind of an application and also an interview process, I think it's a bit clear sometimes when somebody is not as truthful about like their impact and what they're bringing to the table. So that authenticity piece, as I mentioned before, is very critical for us and is something we look for in an interview with a potential leader. So we'll use a handful of those tactics to make sure that they are who they say they are.
So you verify. Yeah, exactly. Okay, fantastic. Let me just go ahead and continue with my question. And so with the third one that I've got. So keeping in mind, again, that the different organizations and awards that we've discussed and that are available on the list that we've provided and that are available widely vary considerably. What are the direct benefits of receiving an honor? How can one make best use of the recognition before, while, and after receiving it? So we've talked about the fact that it helps you, if someone puts on their application that they're an Obama leader, an Obama fellow, it definitely gets the door, opens up the doors more easily. But what can someone really do to make best use of that recognition as they're going through it and after receiving it? And Rufaro, you and I kind of talked about this a little bit about like, how do you leverage it now that you have it? Like, how do you make the best of it?
So I think one of the big things is linking the individual who got this honor or recognition, to the work that you're doing and making that link very clear. So, I mean, it's easy for me. I'm passionate about youth development and I lead a youth development organization. So being able to speak to that is extremely important. When you receive the award or recognition, make sure to link and to share the link on your organizational platforms as well as your personal platforms, and give your organization platform link. So for example, social media, to whoever has, wherever you receive that recognition or fellowship. So when people say, oh wait, so tell me, I actually have the things like, here's me, here's my organization, and here are the links to those things. Please include them in any promotional materials and, tag us. And that's really important. For me, most of the recognition, et cetera, has been through leadership and fellowship programs such as Obama Foundation Leaders, as well as One Young World. And this doesn't come with any direct monetary benefit. The benefit that I get is through the contacts and networks that become possible because of that credibility boost. And so when you're on these programs, respond to emails from program staff. So acknowledge, like, literally, if you get an email and you're just like, oh, thanks, I totally get you, etc. Because the program staff is the one that is kind of opening up and looking for other opportunities. And they'll only know the people who have been in contact with them. When there's an award ceremony or any type of gathering for that, like if it's whether an in-person or even if it's virtual, try to make time to talk to the program staff as well as kind of the heads of the program or the initiative. But literally to say, hey, can I just have 5 minutes to say thank you for like reading my application. It's a lot of work that Rebecca, et cetera, like put in, reading the application, doing the verification, and then selecting me. I just want to say thank you for that. And let me know how I can give back to the network. And then take time to give back to the network. So being involved in activities, attending events, and my biggest one is really like looking at your email and seeing what opportunities come and responding to those opportunities as they come. So I've been profiled in like impact reports for organizations that have given me recognition. So Enke is already like has that already there, and that because then that's shared through that organization, that gives a boost in terms of overall visibility. So I think that's really important to be able to do. And my other one is just to ask questions and engage critically. So if something's going on that you're not a fan of, or that you think is really awesome, give the feedback, take time to email or to give a call to give that feedback, because that also increases your own personal visibility to the program staff and others that are kind of looking for other opportunities and people who kind of stand out. So those are ways of making yourself stand out in a crowd of people who are already standing out, who are selected, and then apply for the next thing and connect the next thing to each other. So don't just mention, oh, I was just part of this one, like actually put it on your LinkedIn. And if you're allowed to, it's very important to follow the rules of the organization that's giving you that recognition. If you're allowed to, then, you know, tag the organization in your profile. And in your organization's team page, make sure that you've mentioned that in your bio. So it's not helpful if in your organization, you're also not mentioning that as well. So those are the things that I've done on my side.
So you want to be like the ideal fellow or ideal leader, meaning you show up, you're present, you're engaged, you know, you're adding value. So the program staff are, whenever they're looking for something, they're like Rufaro. Anything happens, Rufaro, right? And so I think one of the things that I'm hearing from you is the program staff are really, really important. So guess what? You want to get to know them very well. And so, you know, being available to make their jobs easier, but also responding to the requests that they make really does go a very long way. So I hear you with that. Jerry, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. Like Rufaro mentioned, linking your achievements, the honors you have to your digital presence is very important. Something else I will mention is trying to be in touch with whatever fellowship, award, or prize you win, the organization giving it out to the recipients. Usually I know they are very happy to amplify recipients of whatever honors they have. Like the Obama Foundation, they usually put leaders on spotlight, send out newsletters on what their leaders are doing, new achievements. So try to keep in touch with the fellowship or wherever you receive an honor from. Send them what you're doing, give them updates on the work you're doing. They have a wide outreach. Let them know so they can amplify the work you're doing. Through them, you'll be able to reach out to more people. Something else, being part of a fellowship on an honor is basically you're now part of a huge community of professionals. You should tap into that. There are people who have experience in different regions. Get into that. Whatever you need, don't be shy to reach out to the community. They are there to help you. Talk to them, get them involved in your job. They could come in as consultants in whatever projects you're doing. You're looking to explore into new fields, say you're trying to scale to new regions. Maybe there's somebody from that fellowship you can reach out to and he'll help you out with the groundwork and moving to new grounds. An example I'll give on one of the benefits is the Curtis Fellowship and how my relationship started with the King Baldwin Foundation. I was part of the Curtis Fellowship in 2019, and part of that is you get invited to a conference in Mexico where you get to meet NGO leaders and donor agencies. I was able to meet the CEO of King Baldwin Foundation there. That's how I built the relationship. Just by us being in the same space, we're able to start off a relationship. Being in the same space, I was able to meet founders. I met the CEO of World Connect. I'd already sent in an application.
Wow.
But then I got to meet her. Instead of just sending an application, we had a face-to-face. We discussed about what my organization was doing, the impact I was having, which is way better than a 250-word application. You got to know who is behind the application. So take advantage of these things. You meet people one-on-one and you can talk to them. So I think that's the biggest thing about fellowships. You get to see people, you get to be part of a community and a family. So leverage on that.
Yes, no, that's really wonderful. And so what have you done with KBF US? I mean, with King Baldwin Foundation?
They act as a physical sponsor for Techme. Basically, what happens is, I'm sure a lot of people working with the nonprofit know this, that organizations in the US, they usually prefer working with an intermediary. They might not.
The majority of funds flowing from the US to international go through an intermediary, period.
Yeah, because of the whole tax. And so what King Baldwin Foundation does is they act as your physical sponsor, as the intermediary. They can receive the grant on your behalf, so you don't have to go through the hassles of getting a 501c3. They are there for you. You need to apply. You can apply through them as your physical sponsor. They have the 501c3. They receive the grant on your behalf and send it to you. So it cancels that and reduces the hassle on your part. You can apply to more organizations in the US.
And they also have a network of funders as well who they can expose you to. So that's another benefit of that. Okay, the emails are, I mean, the messages I'm getting are flowing quite rapidly. Good news is that we have extra time, but I'm going to ask this question from Daniel Koske, I think Koske. This is for Rebecca. What are your regional networks in Africa, specifically in Democratic Republic of Congo?
So the Obama Foundation Leaders Africa approach has been a Pan-African approach. So we don't have actual representation on the ground. We work with leaders who are from all across the continent, and the programming for the most part has been virtual. So it's been detailed by an in-person convening in the past for 5 days, where we bring all those leaders from across the continent together, and then we follow with virtual programming. Given COVID realities, we will remain kind of in that virtual space. So the communities aren't present physically, but you do have leaders who are throughout DRC and throughout other nations across Africa. And we connect leaders to one another who are from the same region.
Okay. All right, fantastic. This question, I think it was kind of covered, but if you feel like you still want to, this is Brenda from Kenya. In instances where you received the award or recognition, but have since moved from that institution, how do you as an individual utilize that to enhance your credibility in your new work, ensuring the new institution benefits from your past impact work?
All right, usually, when you receive an award is an individual award, except it's for the organization. But if it's for an individual award, you get to take it wherever you go. It's part of you, it's part of your CV, it's part of the achievements you've had. So you can use it for whichever new organization you go into. Is like fellowships are leadership developments. You can actually use that in gaining new employment or moving up the career ladder to say, look, I've received leadership training from so-and-so, and yeah, it will be recognized.
Because you will from now on become an award-winning whatever. right? Award-winning social entrepreneur, award-winning nonprofit executive. So that's great. Rufaro?
Yeah, I think so. I don't have direct experience with this, but our Enke's one of Enke's co-founders and first CEO, she's moved on. So she's no longer directly involved. She's an advisor at Enke, but it's always part of her. She'll always say, she's like, it's always part of my identity. It doesn't go away, even though she's moved on to work in other organizations and to pursue other activities. And the thing that she does is that she still links it back. So if you actually look at her bio, you'll be able to see that, you know, she was a fellow linked to this organization. It's part of the relationship and conversation that we've had. So you can always continue, even if you've gotten an individual recognition, you can continue to link back to the previous organization. But that also shows kind of your integrity and your profile in the ability to build the social capital for yourself, as well as the organizations and companies that you're part of. And companies love that. So even if you're now part of another company and you're like, oh, but you know, it's so good to know that, you know, somebody is going to still kind of carry the torch or be a flag bearer and an ambassador for something that they established or got recognition for. So that doesn't go away. So keep that and link it very honestly and authentically to the work that you were doing, but that doesn't stop you from like using it in your next career or path or, you know, way that you go.
Okay, this is wonderful. Thank you, Rebecca. Go ahead.
I would just add to that. I think, you know, from the fellowship side, and when we're looking at it, you know, the leaders who are coming into our programs, like they may be really interested in like the public sector. That may be like where they have built a career. But on the side, they're interested in maybe working in like a nonprofit and developing around girls' education. You know, each individual has so many different interests and different directions that they want to go in life. And I think on our side, we give the awards and we bring leaders into the network a lot because of their potential and what they've been able to accomplish thus far. So from our perspective, you'll always be an Obama leader. You'll always be a part of the network and leverage that however you would like to as you grow in your career and whatever direction you go into. And I can give an example. We have a leader from South Africa who his entire application was around architecture, and he really was into urban planning and development. And he recently started an anti-racist hot dog stand. It was a protest that he wanted to do, the hot dogs to people. He wanted people from different backgrounds to come together. He told me the story and I was like, I love it. It has nothing to do with architecture, but it speaks to what's important to you and you're still giving back to your community. And that's what we believe in as a foundation. So use your accomplishments. They'll stay with you for the rest of your life, no matter what you do. And you can always find ways to link them together.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. All right. So we've got one minute, no, actually a couple minutes before Hafiza is going to sort of wrap us up for this portion. We'll continue, but who has any sort of burning issue that they want to, or what, you know, what's one thing you want to leave people with, like one great nugget? You've shared tons of them, but like what's one thing you want to tell people as sort of a last kind of point you want to make for them, to them? Rufaro.
Apply. Honestly, like that's my thing is apply, even if you think that you're not ready, or I mean, of course you have to look at it and align with your work and your strategy, etc. But if you don't apply, you'll never get it, and you never know when you're 100% ready. So like I said, like 60% and apply. And it's okay to say no. So it's okay when you hear the no to accept the no. And the other thing is that is around, if maybe you don't lead your organization, maybe you're not the person who's always at the front, but you are interested in applying for fellowships, etc., and getting recommendations from leadership in your organization. Apply, ask for it. Because all of that is wrapped up in making sure that your organization and the work that you're doing and the impact that you have does advance. And that's what's important. So in the social impact space, what is important is impact. and real proven impact on the ground, changing people's lives. So if that for me is my main intent, is to say, just apply, put yourself out there, and you never know what's going to come back. And I didn't know a few years ago when I did apply, and a lot has come back. And then the second thing is give back. So social capital is built from mutual beneficiation. It's not just from you getting from people, etc. Even if it's, let me take you for lunch and just, tell me about the work that you're doing with any one of the new people in your network that you've found through this fellowship, award, or recognition. It's important to give back and to make time to do that as well.
Okay, I'm going to hold off for a second. We're going to come back to hearing from Rebecca and Jerry, but I know that Hafiza needs to officially end this portion, and then we're going to continue with the rest of it. So Hafiza, would you like to come back? Okay. All right.
Sticky button. Thank you so much for joining us today. There was a lot of great questions, and Rufaro, I really like your apply advice, something that I need to take for myself, because a lot of times we discount our own selves before we give anyone else the opportunity. I just wanted to provide some closing remarks. Much appreciation to Liz and Ngonzi and our speakers, Rebecca Musiitwa, Jerry Odili, and Rufaro Mudimu. This was an incredible conversation, and I appreciate that you all shared your expertise, and most helpful, I think, to our audiences and to me, your own experiences. And a special thank you to our audience for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. I hope that you are able to join another webinar series, which will be the final one, which will take place on April 16th on how to attract non-traditional funders. Following this conversation, we will send a link for the full webinar series. Its schedule, along with a brief survey. The survey will take fewer than 30 seconds to complete and help us provide useful content to you in the future. Thank you so much. As Liz mentioned, we are going to continue with some brief green room conversation. So thank you so much.
Thanks. All right. So maybe, okay, so Rebecca and Jerry, so we go back to that what you want to leave people with, so because this is going to be included in the recording.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is don't be afraid of a no. Don't be afraid of a rejection. As nonprofit leaders, I'm sure a lot of us are used to a rejection letter from funders or fellowship. So don't let that discourage you. I applied for Cordis a couple of times. I got it on the third time, and
Wow.
it was worth it, very well worth it. Like I mentioned, I got the King Baldwin connection through there and got met a couple of funders through there. So you might be rejected, but that one time you do get it, it's gonna make it all worth it. So don't be afraid of a rejection. It comes with the territory. So do what you have to do. Use every rejection to refine your application. Do more, put in more work, get better, and apply again. You will get it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Rebecca, you sit on the other side of this. So what do you want to share with us?
I have so many nuggets. I will second.
Yeah, just keep going. Give it, because now we can kind of share it. So right, the official time is over. We can now kind of continue.
I will say apply. I'm gonna second Rufaro. Apply. Go for it. Don't be intimidated. Don't think that you don't match up to the other applicants. Put yourself out there. As Jerry said, do not be afraid of the no's. Continue to apply. If you didn't get in this round, that's okay. Keep going back, and I will say my biggest piece of advice is remember your motivation. And why that you wanted to come to this fellowship in the first place. You're all incredible nonprofit leaders who are dedicated to your communities and really bringing about change. Come in with that same motivation when you're doing your application. When you get into the program, remember that same motivation. As much as this network and an association with an organization can help you, it's so much more than just putting it on your resume or your LinkedIn. It's being a part of a community who also believes in the same thing that you believe in. And when you reap all the benefits of that community, you really can make sure that you're making change and you're going right back to that thing that motivated you in the first place to be a part of this community. So my advice is once you're in, be a part, be present, ask questions, connect with other people, connect with speakers. If there's something you want out of the program that you're not getting out of the program, let us know. That's very much a part of my job, is making sure that I'm helping you get to that next step. I want to see you succeed. We want to see you succeed. The Yali Fellowship, the Tutu Fellowship, they all want to see you succeed, and we want to be a part of that journey for you. So I would say, if anything, really remember your motivation throughout the entire process. Keep that front and center, and know that you're doing this because you want to scale your work and you really want to do great things in your community, and we are here to help you do that. So that's it. That's the advice from me.
This isn't gold. This is platinum. If they're platinum nuggets, that's what you just gave us, all of you. It's really, really wonderful. And I really hope that throughout the series, people have heard mutual benefit, right? Like, don't think about how much you can get out of something without understanding that you're now going to be part of a network, whether it's you're being funded by a foundation, you're being funded by an individual philanthropist, or or you're receiving some kind of an honor. It's important to understand that you're being invited to be part of a network that requires you to give back, right? For you to share, but also by doing so, you have the opportunity to collaborate. You have the opportunity to, like Rufaro and Jerry, now that they've been part of this and they're also part of the network, have an opportunity to be able to share best practices because they're working in similar sort of spaces. So there might be something that Jerry's doing that Rufaro may be looking for, vice versa. So it's important to understand how to build those mutually beneficial relationships, because they will really return quite greatly. Let's look at some of the questions they've sent to me, Hafiza sent to me. So we've got a question from, okay, we've kind of covered it, but did I read the question from Brenda? Sorry, I can't. I'm not sure if I read the question from, Brenda, because Brenda asked two questions, that's why. In instances where you've received the award or recognition, no, we read that. I did read that one. Okay, that's no problem. We're fine. Something that came up when we were doing the prep was, so you get this honor and and you're really excited and and it's announced, and then what happens is the haters come out. How do you manage that? How do you deal with the fact that we're living in cultures and in situations where people are told to sort of dim their lights, and they really shouldn't sort of brag about what they're doing. But if you've got an Obama Foundation listing you and talking about how great you are, you're going to need to take advantage of that. You're going to need to show that. But there are going to be people who are going to be detractors. I said haters, but detractors. And so how do you manage that? How do you manage when you start shining, when you start getting this, you're more in the limelight and people are recognizing you for the work that you're doing and are and stuff. How do you manage that? Because I know that is an issue that comes up. So Rufaro, do you want to get that, or Jerry?
All right, let me go first.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I think I'll say I've been fortunate. I've not experienced the haters, but
haters gonna hate.
You do have to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
But most importantly, you have to amplify your voice. You cannot afford not to put it out there. You get a fellowship or an award, and you do not amplify it or take advantage of the network, then you might as well have left it for somebody else. You have to take advantage of it, amplify it, use it to build your network, use it to build your social capital, and do the best you can. And most times, people receiving these awards and fellowships, they're usually working in the nonprofit sector, and it's not just about them, but also about the communities they work for. So there's a bigger picture than just you. So you have to think about your your beneficiaries and the communities you work for, and do whatever you can to scale your job and scale your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Rufaro, do you want to jump in on that? Because I know it comes,
Yeah.
it comes with the territory.
It does come with the territory. I mean, I think I've also have been a bit lucky in not having to deal with that directly. But when you have proof of impact, like nothing is going to detract from that. So even if people are just saying, oh, she doesn't really deserve it, then, you know, somebody is going to actually come up and be like, actually, no, they're doing good work. In the end. So I do think it's important to be aware of and to manage the reputation of your organization and of you as an individual. So that is something that I'm very aware of. I mean, I studied communication. So
Right.
in my undergrad, and so one of the things was, especially when it comes to social media, you do need to be careful about
Right.
what is out there and manage your reputation in that way. And remember that, you know, when you get that recognition, that your public face is now also linked to a much bigger public entity that you want to honor and be a great ambassador for. And then the second one, I think, is also to just own your stuff. So if there is stuff that comes out and, you know, it didn't, and it's true, own it, and you know, communicate with the organization you receive the recognition from, etc. Because, you know, nothing is gained by hiding.
Right.
But overall, if there are any haters, I think the community you're now part of is going to help you with that.
Yes.
And then the second part is that sometimes your biggest hater is yourself. And
Yeah.
so one of my favorite—
Imposter syndrome?
Imposter syndrome is huge. So when I joined the Obama Foundation, when I was a Leaders Africa, I had major imposter syndrome, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm like here with these people. Like, this is just ridiculous, right? And so
And yet you were.
Yeah, yes, and I was. And one of the quotes that I like, the poem or thought of Our Deepest Fear.
Yeah.
So that quote, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same.
Yep.
And we are liberated from our own fear, and our presence automatically liberates others. And that's a quote that I share in our organization at Enke when, you know, young people are just like, no, but my friends aren't doing the impact work. They think that it's not good. I'm like, yeah, but this is your deepest fear.
Yes.
And you can overcome it that way. So I do think that sometimes it seems bigger than it is when you do get detractors, because there's actually usually a lot more people who are supporting the recognition that you've received.
No, I agree with you. I've got a question from Isa Shamsu, who thanks us for an insightful webinar and says, I founded a youth-led peace-building organization in Ghana, and I would like to find out, per the experiences of the panelists, what would they suggest that young people in civil society do differently in order to succeed? I know that's a very broad question, but whatever we can kind of help. So I guess it's really someone who's starting out. How can, you know, what are some of the steps for them to move to become you? I think is that what they're asking. Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca.
I'll take a stab at this. I think if you're just starting out and you're in this space, you know what you want to do, finding a mentor can really help you. Because you can ask those questions. You can ask, like, what is it like to grow in this space? What was it like for you? What was your journey? Don't be afraid to just build connections, and authentic connections, where you're asking those questions and you're sharing your fears and you're sharing how you feel about imposter syndrome. Like, I'll be completely transparent and honest. I think talking to the leaders, sometimes I get imposter syndrome. I'm like, you all are incredible. You're doing incredible things. And I'm, you know, I don't know how to advise you on this. Like, I think you're great. So I think that all of us have that. And I think that nobody quite has all the answers. So if you're just starting out, realizing that, and being honest with yourself about what you need and not being afraid to ask that from others can really help you grow. And if you don't have people like in your own network who can advise on these things, don't be afraid to ask people in your network if they have somebody who's also doing like peace building work and they need those connections. So I think that's it. I think for me on the advice side, to just start off and to really grow, be honest about what you need, be honest when you don't know, and find those people who believe in you, support you, and can help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Jerry, you've got a question. What did you do after being denied the Cordis Fellowship the first time that helped you to prepare for the second attempt and finally the third? What insights did you learn from each application submission? This is someone who's like determined. I love this. I love that this person said, because they're like saying, okay, if they say no, I want to know what to do the next time. And then that third time's the charm. I want to know that I want to be prepared for that.
First thing I did was I usually go and check whoever is selected. So why was this person selected and I wasn't selected? What does he or she have that I don't have? So I usually try to find out what specifically the fellowship or the organization is looking for. So when I get that, I understand maybe what I was lacking. And with the Cordis, each year, I think I grew as a person, my organization also grew. So I was able to reflect that in my application. Starting up, the very first time I applied, my organization was very young. I think it was in the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got it, I was already, should I say, well-known in my field. So I could show
you should say that.
Yeah, so I could show the impact of what my organization has done. I could express myself better. And also I've had experience in applying. I've applied for so many things. So I could bring in that experience. And show what my organization has done, the things I've done. I could express myself, things that I didn't know how to say earlier because I've applied for so many other things. I knew the words and how to say it. So, and that's why what Rufaro said is very important. Apply. You might not get it, but because you applied, the next time you apply for something else, you will understand the question better. You will know how to answer the next organization's question better. You'll be able to refine the last answer you gave to make this one better. If you decide to apply for just one that you think you're just right, I don't think you're getting better in any way. You will definitely fail to succeed at a point. So don't be afraid of failure.
So were you able to ask Cordis, can you reach out to Cordis or Rebecca to an Obama Foundation and say, okay, I didn't get it. Would it be possible for us to talk so I can improve my chances next time? So I understand like what I didn't do correctly. So Jerry, you can answer that, and then Rebecca.
Yeah, some organizations are willing to answer, but some are not. They explicitly say that based on, they get a lot of applications, so it's very hard. But I think you should not be afraid to ask. It helps. I usually do. Even if they say no, I send out a request. Look, this will help me to apply, if not just for your organization, but for another organization, I can know how to improve. Also, with the Obama Foundation, I applied for the very first one, the inaugural. I did not get it. And I was shocked. I thought I was, unlike Rufaro, I actually did think I was worth it. I think I was worth it, but I did not get it. I was shocked. Why?
Yeah.
Fortunately, they saw their error the next time and they gave it to me. So, yeah, reach out to them. A couple of them will get back to you. Don't be afraid to reach out to them, talk to them. Some will get back to you. Unfortunately, based on the amount of applications they get in, some of them get thousands. They might not be able to reach out to you, but that shouldn't stop you. Ask.
Absolutely. No, that's a good one. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I can just hop in and say, first, Jerry, I wasn't there in 2018, so I didn't select the applicant. But I will relay the message that we messed up that first year. I mean, as Jerry said, I think it's a bandwidth thing on our side. I want to say in 2018, we had upwards of like 20,000 applications. So it's just difficult for us to be able to respond to everyone who may ask that question about like why they didn't get in or what they can improve on. But it doesn't hurt to send the email because if we do have the bandwidth, then we as a team, we do want to respond to those requests. I think too, when the program is actually running or that there's like an off time as well, reach out to these programs on LinkedIn. Reach out to the program managers on LinkedIn. Reach out to like their websites in general. And if they have time, maybe they'll do just like a 30-minute kind of like coffee conversation with you and allow you to ask the questions you want. I've talked to several people who are interested in our programs and haven't applied, but they just want to learn more. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there and just ask for like an informal conversation too, when it's not the application cycle. And if we have time, we'll make it.
Okay, no, that's great. I have one last question before we wrap up, but here's what I want to one thing I want to say. If you apply for the Obama Foundation Fellowship, please follow them on social media. Okay, and amplify the work. But don't be that person who applies and when they search you, they don't see any connection. So this is a real simple thing to do. So definitely follow them on LinkedIn or whatever other platforms are there. And also that helps you to learn a little bit about the work that they're doing and keep abreast of any developments. All right, so this last question I want to share with you is from Griffin Shea in South Africa. They received their first grant from the National Arts Council in South Africa, and the process was flawed and mired. Yeah, congratulations, flawed and mired in protests. But Griffin is happy and proud to receive the recognition. So the question is, do we acknowledge the flaws in the process when we brag on the award?
Yes, because it can't be hidden, right?
Right.
I mean, I think I also, so interestingly as well, like with the Obama Foundation recognition, is like questions about, the Obamas and the legacy in Africa as president and all of these things. And what was really interesting is that we were actually able to put it to the foundation and be like, look, this is honestly a question that we're getting or something that we have to navigate. Can you help us navigate that?
Right.
So I do know, there's quite a lot of, from a reputational perspective, it's like, just own that you've gotten this thing. And if the organization that you've received it from has questions around it, etc., I think that's something that you should acknowledge. But you shouldn't, I don't think that you can be, especially if it's a grant, when it comes with money, I think you should just actually ask, like, how do I navigate this? And if they don't know, find somebody in your network that might know how you can navigate this. I always say it's important to build your tribe. And sometimes your tribe isn't individuals and people that you know. Sometimes it's in books, sometimes it's in webinars, sometimes it's in a podcast. Somebody says something and you're like, actually, that's a strategy that I can apply. So I would say, go to the organization and actually find out, how are you navigating this? And can you help me with that navigation and with the story that we need to tell around that? I think that's really important as well.
Fantastic. Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I can say from our end, we're always looking to improve, and we're always looking to make the community stronger and better for our program participants. Back to that mutually beneficial piece.
Yeah,
we want to get better. So let us know if you're not happy about something, if you want something else, if you need clarity on it. Like, that's a big part of our role. So I would say it's perfectly fine to come back and kind of express how you're feeling about something. I also think that you should have a bit of tact with it as well. Like, we are in a lot of ways like gatekeepers to more opportunities for you. And I think if we can have a constructive conversation, then I will make sure that I can continue to do the things that I can for you. But if it's a situation where blasting on social media, very upset about something, then it's just like, I don't know how to help at this point, and a lot of trust has been broken. So back to the tribe, back to community, we're very much in this together, and it is very much a lifelong journey. So keep if you ever get a grant, if you're part of a fellowship, if you're awarded something and you have a problem, feel free to raise it and do it tactfully. That's my advice.
I agree. Jerry, do you want to wrap us up on this?
Yeah, while I don't know the context of the controversy per se, so I can't really give him an advice on what to do, but I will say it's good practice to always publicize whatever honor you've received. I know the organization that gives out such honor is always happy to let people know about their recipients. So you should always, good practice, you receive a grant or a fellowship, try to put it out there. But considering your specific situation, I cannot speak on that, but it's good practice to publicize whatever you receive.
Okay, fantastic. So we unfortunately have come to an end, but I appreciate you staying with us. Rebecca, Jerry, and Rufaro, this was fantastic. This was such a great conversation. And I really hope that our audience enjoyed it as much as I personally did. And that, speaking to the audience, I really hope that you apply at least one nugget, and you got lots of nuggets, and these were platinum nuggets that you received today to raise your leadership profile and enhance your organization's fundraising efforts and raise its profile as well. So thank you, Rebecca, Rufaro, and Jerry, and of course, everybody who joined us. I once again thank King Budwan Foundation US, Hafiza, thank you so much, and of course, all of our amazing partners who brought us together. And while we're done, everything's going to be recorded as we mentioned, and you're also going to get that list of resources for folks who just joined us. So definitely go ahead and tap into those resources. And as Rufaro said, apply. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thanks. Okay, I think here.
Lovely having you guys. Goodbye.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. This is awesome.
Yes.
Okay. All right, bye-bye.